Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you to those who've joined. We're just going to give everyone a minute more to join for the latecomers, and then we'll get started straight away. Hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to this webinar on how agencies can harness the power of generative AI for growth and for new, hosted by Listening 24/7. My name is Jakob Goldfan. I'm based in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I'm a member of the Listening 24/7 leadership team. Before joining Listening 24/7, I spent 5 years in strategy and behavioral economics consulting. And throughout my career, I often work closely with agencies and with market researchers to provide survey data and insights to our clients. So I'm very excited for discussion, which I think will be, and I hope will be very relevant to all of you. So a warm welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining us. We have executives from agencies from all over the world with us today, and we're very, very grateful to have you. And we hope that this webinar will be insightful and that it will be a worthwhile investment of your valuable time. Just very quickly before we get started and before I introduce our speakers, I just want to give you a brief overview of how we've planned to spend the next 45 minutes, just to maximize the investment of your time in this webinar. So first off, I'll introduce our host, Michaelis from Listening 24/7, and then I'll introduce our close partner, Nenen, from Values as well. Michaelis will lead a discussion with Nenen to explore the unstructured data and generative AI landscape. He'll share some examples of datavinci 3.0, our own generative AI that we've developed over the last decade or so. And he'll show us how this can help agents create a new revenue stream for their businesses. And then at the end, we'll have about 10 minutes to answer any questions that you have. As we go along, please feel free to post questions in the Q&A in the sidebar, and we'll answer them either during the session or during the Q&A session at the end. To start off, we're going to run a quick poll. Please use the interaction tab on the right of your screen to participate in the poll. You can find it in the sidebar in the right. If you don't see it, you can just click on that arrow and you'll see the interaction section where you'll find the poll, and you'll also see the Q&A section where you can post any questions that you have, and we'd love to hear your questions. So feel free to thoughts and comments or questions there. So for the poll, we just want to know how many of you currently offer social media listening solutions to your current client base. We'd love to hear and see how many of you are already doing this in your businesses. And while you take a few seconds to find the interaction on the right and to vote, I'm going to introduce our speakers. So first, I'd like to introduce our valued partner and guest, Nenen Ryu from Values, which is an agency based in Japan. And welcome, Nenen.
Everyone, I'm glad to be invited to participate in this seminar.
Great to have you, Nenen. So Nenen is originally from China, but she's been working at Values, a market research agency in Tokyo. She's completing her master's degree in economics in Japan, and she has extensive experience in conducting consumer surveys for Asian companies that are targeting and trying into other markets throughout the world. Today, she's going to share some insights with us on how Asian companies use listening, and we look forward to having you on this webinar, Nenen. Next, I'd like to introduce our host, Michaelis Markel. Michaelis, thank you for hosting this and welcome. Michaelis is the founder and the CEO of Listening 24/7, which was formerly known as Digital MR or DMR. By training and by education, Michaelis is an aerospace engineer, but he hasn't made it into outer space yet. And he's decided to explore data and the world of unstructured data and artificial intelligence instead. And shortly, he's going to be telling us why he finds data and AI as exciting as outer space. Thank you, Michaelis. Thank you, Nenan. I'm going to hand over to Michaelis to take it from here.
Thank you, Yakov. Hello, everyone, dear colleagues. Hi, Nenan. Thanks for joining us. Before I start, the results of the poll are great, actually, because most of you are already using social media listening and analytics. I think this is a first, and I may need to revise one of the slides that I'm about to show you. So we're looking at 63% using social media listening already, and only 38% or 37% not using it. So again, thank you for joining us live, those of you who are here now and those who will be watching this recording. The benefit of being in a live webinar is that you can participate in the conversation, right? Live. Hopefully my discussion today with Nenan from Values will motivate you to participate, to comment by using or to ask questions by using the Q&A button on your sidebar, on the upper right-hand side of your screen. We want to have a very authentic talk as a researcher to researcher, and I mean it when I say authentic. The goal is to connect and not to appear smart by using long and complex words. There is one quote that I use often from Edward Wilson. He was an American biologist, where he says, among other things, I'm not going to read the whole quote, but he says, the world will be run by synthesizers. People able to put together the right information at the right time, think creatively about it, and make important choices wisely. Why is this relevant in today's webinar? Well, most of us on this call are actually synthesizers. And if not, you can and you should be a synthesizer. And that's the ability to synthesize data from many different sources. That's part of what we're discussing today. And how do we leverage this ability to help our clients be more successful, and by extension, help us be more successful? We're all here because we want to sell more, if we are honest. Here's a deep philosophical statement for you. Unless someone sells something, nothing happens. I will repeat it. Unless someone sells something, nothing happens. I know it sounds shallow and possibly selfish coming from me, but do me the favor and take some time to consider and research this statement after our webinar. Well, having said that, nobody likes to be sold to aggressively, right? So we usually dress it up as education and sharing ideas, etc., and it works. So here we are. We are authentic and we're calling things by their name. So let's see what you told us when registering for this meeting. I will share my screen. Give me one sec. There you go. So this is what you said. To what extent are you using generative AI currently? 1/3 of you said they are planning to explore. That's great. 1/3 said they're actively using Gen AI. 20% are experimenting, and 15% have not yet considered Gen AI. Then to the question about what would you like to take home from this webinar, most of you said to learn more about AI in general. I like the second one. What's in it for us? Exactly. We're here to find out what what's the benefit for your agencies in being here and investing 45 minutes of your time. How to improve the general market research process. We may not talk a lot about that, but we can connect later and talk about how we apply Gen AI to improve survey analytics and focus groups and communities and all that, and of course how to generate a new revenue stream. The main reason why we're here. Some of the questions that you're asking. How can AI improve the analysis of qualitative and quantitative data? What automations are most beneficial for agencies? How does Gen AI enhance analytics? And will AI eventually replace us? Well, good questions. And we'll try to answer those during the conversation with Nenen. But if not, Yagov will take the unanswered questions forward to the last section of our webinar, during which we will answer them. Remember to type your questions as they come up for you when we discuss in the Q&A section on the upper right-hand side of your screen, next to the chat. Okay. Now, to stay ahead in market research, it's essential to adapt to new methodologies and technologies. Currently, most market research relies on solicited customer opinions, such as surveys or focus groups, right? Solicited, as in we ask questions. However, this only scratches the surface of the vast data landscape. So I would say it's less than 10% of the data that is out there, the solicited customer opinion. More than 90% of all the data available today is unstructured, with a significant portion being the unsolicited customer opinion. That's when they give us their opinion about a brand online without being asked, right? So let's call it 90-10, right? That's what this number is here. 90% unsolicited opinion, 10% solicited. But don't you think it would be better to use 50% solicited and 50% unsolicited opinion to synthesize insights? I think so. And I think this is where the world is heading, especially, and I'm encouraged by the result of the previous poll, right? Almost 70% of you said you're already using unstructured data and unsolicited customer opinion from social. So I hope I will soon be able to revise these numbers here. So this message, as of last year, the numbers from 2023, has not been received by the market research budget holders yet, as they spent more than 90% on asking questions and less than 10% on listening. So, you know this analogy. They say we have two ears and only one mouth, so we need to listen more. Well, in this case, our industry has 1 ear and 9 mouths. This is what we call the market research or the customer opinion paradox. Right. Okay. Now time to start the conversation with Nenen. I'm going to rephrase the title of our conversation and reduce it to its core, which is how social media can generate more revenue for agencies. Hello again, Nenen, and thank you for joining us. I want to start with the first question and ask you to tell us a few words about your business and then maybe describe how you got your first social listening client.
Okay, hello everyone. And at first I want to introduce my company, which is Values at here. is a Japanese market research company, and our business is assisting Japanese clients with conducting market research among the overseas consumers, almost in Southeast Asia, China, and North America. And actually, in Japan, we have 2.5 million Japanese online behavioral data, and based on this data, we make a tool to help our clients to make marketing research. But for our overseas research, we have traditionally relied on the qualitative and quantitative analysis method. And talking about our first social listening clients, and actually I need to see that after a year of persistent efforts to introduce the social listening to many of our clients, we finally get our first project. And when we first started promoting the social media listening in Japan, we put a lot of effort to explaining this new method. And however, since that maybe there was a little immediately demand for social listening, and actually maybe everyone knows that Japanese or the Japanese companies are often cautious about some new method. And it took about a year to get our first project, a chocolate market research in the United States.
Amazing. And yes, indeed, I'm a witness to what you just said. We've been sending proposals for a year and nothing was happening. And then suddenly the floodgates opened. I don't know what happened. Maybe OpenAI made a lot of noise in Japan as well with their AI and all that. And suddenly we started selling projects in Japan with you. And it's been great since. But yes, it took a lot of effort and a lot of persistence. And thank you for sticking with that. My next question, Nenen, is what were the challenges and the opportunities during your first ever project your team has delivered from the social media listening space?
Thank you, Nicholas. And I think the biggest challenge was analyzing and interpreting the data, since it was our first time to doing the social listening, and we were unsure about what kind of type of informations we could get from the data and how to analysis and interpret it. And additionally, we considered whether it would be possible to meet our customers' demands. And during the project, we communicate a lot with Nicholas' team, asking for support such as adding the data tabs and cleaning up the noise in the data. And the final results were good, and the customers were very satisfied with the outcome of our first survey, and now it become a regular one.
Great. Thank you for that. So specifically, can you describe to our audience what were some of the benefits that your client identified or communicated back to you, and what was in general the client response to your very first deliverable?
Actually, initially the project, our clients conduct the project, the research using their only left budget, but they discovered many untapped needs and insights on social media. For example, they are a food company and which is selling the chocolate in the United States. They found that because the chocolate's packaging has a panda, which is very cute, and many Americans choose it as a Valentine's Day's gift. And in terms of the usage scenarios, Americans tend to share and enjoy it more at home, and which is leading to interest in the large or family size packages, and which is different in usage and demand compared to the Japanese market. So this new insight helps them to give them too many new insight and a deeper understanding of the US market, and they were doing more marketing plan in America and based on the the customers in America.
Yeah, I think that's a common response from people when I ask them this question, is that it's the unexpected. They receive something, a piece of information that they didn't expect. It's not that's where the beauty of unsolicited is, right? You don't have to think of the questions that you want to ask, because maybe you don't even know all the questions that you need to ask. And so with listening, you can be surprised with certain nuggets and pieces of information that you were not even thinking of. So that's a great point and a great answer. Thank you. Next question is, so talking about the solicited, which is mostly solicited opinion, which comes from surveys, and the unsolicited from listening, there's a huge value in integrating the two, right? We talked about synthesizers will rule the world in the future. And so how can you talk a little bit about integrating surveys with social listening, or solicited opinion with unsolicited opinion? What do you think about it?
Actually, as myself as a researcher, and I believe this combination with the surveys and the social listening represent the futures of the market research. And in fact, although we are in Asia, we are gradually increasing our use of surveys combined with the social listening. And first, from a business perspective, if we were the clients, people are increasingly influenced by social media when searching for information and purchasing some products. This means that there is a wealth of valuable information on the social media that companies cannot afford to overlook. And second, from the perspectives of a market researcher, for me, the traditional surveys often fall short in meeting our research needs for brands. For example, if we want to understand what users value most about the brand's product, their positive and negative opinions on the product, and when they consume the product, what kind of scenarios they want to eat, like they want to eat the chocolate with who, and social media can fulfill this research need. And another point is that when we do as Nicholas said, when they do the solicited research like survey, and the respondents, the users, because of their lack of memories, and they cannot exactly remember what they did. So there is some mistakes in the results. But the social media, the data on the social media is actually what they said and what they did. So I think it's a very great point.
Great. May I ask Carrie, my colleague, to show we have two more poll questions, to make the second poll question live. And please click on interactions and vote. What is your biggest the question is, what is your biggest challenge when delivering insights to clients? And also don't forget to place your questions for Nenan and I in the Q&A section. Okay. The last question, Nenan, before I ask you the last question, which is what I think everybody's waiting for, to talk about datavinci and Gen AI, I will show a couple more slides, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so in this example, we gathered social media posts about coffee chains in the UK. And one of them is called Gales. It's a bakery and coffee chain. And what datavinci did is it looked at all the posts and identified many conversation drivers. A conversation driver is a subject that if a brand engages in a conversation with the consumers on that subject, they will get more engagement and more reach. In this example, the conversation driver is gentrification, which simply put, it means to turn a bad neighborhood into a good neighborhood by building, developing new real estate properties. residential, and commercial. And datavinci, that's fully automated, came up with this driver, and it explains it by saying the perception of the Gales brand seems to be quite polarized based on the posts shared. On one hand, there are individuals who are excited about opening a Gales in Woolwich, which is a suburb, an area in England. However, on the other hand, there is strong sentiment of resistance and criticism. And then datavinci goes ahead and suggests a business action to respond to this issue. And it says, promote inclusivity. Gales can take steps to promote inclusivity and diversity within their brand, both in terms of their products and their engagement with local communities. This can help in bridging the gap between different groups and fostering a sense of unity rather than division. And then the icing on the cake is that not only it tells you what to do, or it tells your client what to do, it actually creates the content. In this case, there's an image brief, which it can be given to the design people or the photographer or the marketing department of the client organization. And the brief says, the image shows a diverse group of people enjoying pastries and coffee at a Gales bakery. The atmosphere is cozy and inviting, with warm lighting and comfortable seating, etc., etc. And so 4 months ago, when we used this brief as a prompt, datavinci produced this image, which is not that great, right? The faces, you can tell these are not real people. But this technology keeps improving. And 2 or 3 weeks ago, the same prompt to datavinci produced this image, exactly the same prompt. So you see now the faces are more human, more credible to be human. And so my question to you, Nenen, on this is, what do you think of datavinci's automated reporting and content creation?
Thank you for sharing the datavinci. And at here, I'd like to share small stories. When Nicholas first introduced to me what datavinci is and what it can do and the report it produces, I was absolutely shocked. And the first thing I said to Nicholas was, I think I might lose my job. Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember.
Yes.
I do remember.
Yeah. Actually, I think datavinci is an incredible, smart, and efficient tool, and a great combination of artificial intelligence and social media. And maybe there is a ChatGPT or there's some AI analysis tools. But the datavinci can do is based on the social listening data. So it is more good, how to say, it is more accurate, and it can handle much of work that our researchers used to do, such as analyzing the data and writing reports. And now our process is much faster. We collect the datavinci analyzes it and create the report, and we simply review and make any necessary adjustments. And also it's great for brainstorming, as it can provide us with some new perspectives and ideas. And I think it's a valuable tool for any business that wants to understand the social media trends.
Brilliant. Well, on the second poll, and Kerry, let's get ready to show the third and last one. On the most of you said that about what is your biggest challenge when delivering insights to clients. It's turning insights into something useful. And what we have just seen that datavinci does, hopefully, piques your interest to learn more about how generative AI like datavinci can help your business provide specific actions, but also content, which is a new thing for if you're a market researcher, if you're a media agency or an ad agency, that's probably the core of what you're doing. So Kerry, now please share the third and last poll, which is about, let me find the question. Which of the following social media listening services would be helpful in your sales efforts? And it's a multiple choice. All right, so now let me give you one more example, since we have a few more minutes. Let me give you one more example of what datavinci did for a client, and then we can go to your questions. So this is about an athletic shoe brand. Let's call it brand A. The conversation driver for Instagram was, there are consumer concerns about brand A shoes. Okay. And then datavinci goes ahead and says, here is the business action. Respond to the waterproofing concerns, address the concerns about waterproofing in certain shoe models to enhance overall product satisfaction and performance in wet conditions. And then, like you've seen before, it can create the copy of the post. Exciting news, we're stepping up our game with enhanced waterproofing technology. Stay tuned for updates on our improved all-weather footwear. Of course, some brands, they like to not to respond to negative sentiment. They like to, well, I see that as, you know, putting your head in the sand and ignoring, hoping it will go away. Sometimes maybe that happens, but sometimes you have to engage and you have to show that as a brand you're listening. And that's what datavinci is suggesting here. I mean, you can disagree, the client can disagree, but it's a point of view. And then the image brief is, for this post, is a close-up shot for a brand A shoe sole with water droplets beating off the surface. The background shows a misty forest trail, emphasizing the shoe's ability to perform in wet conditions. Isn't that amazing that it comes up? I mean, I find this so creative, and yet it does not hallucinate, because on the one extreme of the continuum, you have being creative, and you don't want your Gen AI to be too creative, because it then says nonsense, right? And on the other spectrum, you have hallucination. Well, datavinci does not hallucinate ever, because it is accessing a data set which is already intelligent. It's a finite data set, right? Let's say 100,000 posts, 1 million posts is not the whole content of the internet, right? And it already has sentiment and topic annotations from the predictive AI models. There's predictive AI and there's generative AI. Predictive is more narrow, it's cheaper to train, and it's cheaper to run. And so we use that to tag posts in any language for topic, for sentiment, and for brand. And then datavinci finds it easier, small language model that it is. It's not even an LLM, it's a small language model. So again, cheaper to operate, cheaper to train. It can access, it has guardrails with this topic and sentiment and brand annotation. It's like guardrails that stop it from hallucinating, basically. And so if, and I want to show you the Instagram post that it came up with based on this post copy that it created and the image brief. It's this. And I thought the imagery here is really amazing. The droplets, the hazy background, the shoe, and so on, in conjunction with the copy. I thought this is amazing. And yeah, so what do you think of this, Nennen? I'm not sure if I've shown this to you before.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I maybe if we actually make the human being to make these pictures, it will take us about maybe 1 month or 2 months. But datavinci can easily make this. That's amazing.
Yeah. Amazing, thank you. All right, so now we'll pass it on back to Yagov to see what questions you guys have. In the meantime, you're seeing the email addresses of myself, of Yakov and Nenen, in case you want to reach out. Yakov, over to you, and let me know if you want me to stop sharing my screen.
I haven't seen it yet, so maybe just try to reshare it.
Okay.
Thanks, Michaelis. Thanks, Nenen, and thanks again for joining us. Just before we move on to the Q&A, we're going to show a call to action in the interactions tab as well. We'd love to chat to you or to partner with you, and obviously to provide you with some ammunition you can use to see whether this is something that would suit you or your clients. If you click the call to action, you'll register to get a complimentary Listening 24/7 report with content created by datavinci 3.0, which you can use for one of your clients that you want to impress, and see what the reaction is before you commit to any further partnerships or anything else. We want you to see the power of datavinci and see how your clients react to it. So just click on the call to action button and we'll provide a free report for you for one of your clients' brands and for their top competitor. It'll be limited to one country and one language for now, but obviously down the line we can do any country, any language, and almost any platform. So just moving on to the Q&A, just a reminder, if there are any more questions, just post them in the Q&A, but I see we've got some question from Nico here for you, Michaelis. So for people who already leverage artificial intelligence in marketing and know its ability to efficiently analyze collected data, how will the tightening data processing regulations that are coming in the future impact the collection of social media data and optimization of marketing? And then as a follow-up to that question, is synthetic data the future in this context? And what is your opinion and how have we taken that into consideration? So
yeah,
questions there, but I'll hand over to you, Michaelis, to answer.
Thank you. Thanks, Nico. Great question. Well, the first one is when it comes to regulations. I mean, public data is public data. Everybody is very careful with personal data and data that is behind firewalls. We don't use that kind of data. We use public data, and of course, we follow the rules of GDPR and SOMR and whoever else has some strict rules about being ethical and following, of course, the law. With data processing specifically, I don't think there will be any regulations on how we process the data we collect. The issue will be, will we stop having access to Facebook data, or will we stop having access to Twitter data, or X? But I don't think this will ever happen. That's just my opinion. On synthetic data, which I translate as creating synthetic respondents using AI agents to respond to surveys. And I was on the program committee of the ESOMA Congress in Athens in September. And I actually, it so happened that I was chairing the session around synthetic data. The gist of that session, we had 4 presentations of people who tried to create AI respondents, like 1,000 AI respondents that respond to a questionnaire, and then compared it to 1,000 humans that responded to the same questionnaire. The results were underwhelming. It's a hit and miss at the moment. Maybe it will become better in the future, but at the moment, I don't think synthetic data will be used in a wide scale anytime soon. Maybe in a few years' time, but we'll see what the case studies will be at the next ESOMA Congress, September 2025.
Thanks, Michaelis. I see I'm not sure if it's a comment or a question from Liang. Nenen, can you read that? I don't speak. I'm not sure if it's Chinese or Japanese yet.
Yeah, thank you. He just said that I was done great.
Yeah, we agree, Liang.
Yeah, thank you.
So just a I've got a few more questions, but since we just addressed Nico's question and it relates to one of the other questions that we've got, is about hallucinations. I know you spoke a little bit about hallucination.
Yeah.
But it is it seems that most people think or believe that these generative AI models hallucinate or are always hallucinating. That's essentially what they do. I think that touches on Nico's question, and how can we be so sure that ours isn't hallucinating?
So no, they don't always hallucinate. At least we should train them so that they don't. The large language models, they do hallucinate. The ones that are out there, GPT-4 and OpenAI o1, which is the latest. GPT-5 never happened. Everybody was waiting for GPT-5. Maybe part of the reason was the hallucinations. We think the direction is small language models, many expert small language models. And if you combine that with what I said before, accessing a small data set, 100,000 posts, it's not hexabytes, it's not petabytes, right? It's 100,000. It's small big data, if you want to call it something, right? 100,000 posts, a finite data set. If this data set already has labels for sentiment, for topic, what are they talking about, for brand. So these are very strong guardrails for datavinci, our small language model, which I've never seen it hallucinate yet. And we have been using it, delivering reports to clients since the beginning of September. So this is very, very new as well, but I have not seen it hallucinating yet. I hope I'm answering the question.
Great. Thanks, Michaelis. Quick question for Nenin, and it's just on more detail on values. Do you only work in Japan, or do you cover other Asian countries at values in general?
Yeah, we do research all over the world. But as I said, the 2.5 million people's online behavioral data, it's only in Japan.
Okay, amazing. And then I guess if anyone joined for Nenin or wants to get in touch, our email's there on the screen, but you can also contact us and we'll be more than happy to put you in touch. I think last question before we close, and I think this already talks to what we mentioned about the call to action. But I mean, Michaelis, what are the best ways to get started? Either engaging in listening 24/7 and exploring cooperation here. And I guess maybe you can provide some more detail on if people don't want to go with the free report, what other ways are there to contact you or the team and get started? And how would you recommend it?
Yeah, I think, and there is another question that is for Nenin, so I will answer this one quickly. I think the idea is click on the call to action button, register for a free report from datavinci that is about one brand, a client that you're close to, and their top competitor. So a big brand that will give you a lot of social media posts. And then you can demonstrate to your client what Gen AI can do for them through your agency. And then we'll take it from there. We will talk about partnering and how we go to market together in your market, in your country, in your vertical, and how do we grow a partnership in this sense. And please don't forget this extra aspect, especially if you're a market research agency, that now not only we offer advice and recommendations, the business action, but also the actual content, which I think is amazing. And it was never part of our offering, but now it can be. Why not?
Thank you, Michaelis. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us on the emails you'll see on the screen now. Nenin, what are your insights on small language models? I'm not sure if you have any experience in that, so I'm not sure if it's a question for you or for Michaelis.
But I think that's an unfair question for Nenin because she's a market researcher. She's not an AI scientist. But I mean, I'll let you respond, Nenin, and then I can help.
And feel free to pass it on to Michaelis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And actually, I'm not so familiar with the small, large models or the big language models. But the difference is, for my opinion, about the social media or listening, that when we do the social media listening, there are always the data, the amount of the data is more or big, that there is, yeah, I don't know how to answer this question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can help. I can help, Nanan. So if you're looking for a definition, Bilal, anything that has less than 7 billion parameters compared to the 1.8 trillion parameters that GPT-4 is trained on, anything less than 7 billion we call a small language model. And we think it's better for market research because of the reasons I explained before. Finite data sets, already with some intelligence, and then that's the way to go. And it's trained by us, it's fine-tuned, so we know how it will react. It's not a big black box like GPT-4 and Claude and Gemini. Yago, over to you to close.
Thanks, Michaelis. Yeah, we're just a minute over, so I'm just going to close up. Nenan, thank you again so much for joining us and for your insights. Michaelis, thanks for hosting. Again, the call to action is there if you want to get in touch, but we're also always open for a demo, or if you want to just ask us some questions, we're available. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So thank you, everyone. The recording will be shared if you missed part of this, and you can contact us through there as well. Have a great day or evening, depending on where you are. Cheers.